I'm Lenny Ladner, and I had a real interesting phone call today. It's the 10th of November, and we all know that the anti-health care bill passed Congress on Friday. Passed it very quietly. We all know that. And I want to explain a few things. First of all, we got to go back in time. And in 1937, under a crisis situation which the government created, called the so-called Great Depression. And if you take the time out, read Murray Rothbard, America's Great Depression, you may learn something. But they created something called Social Security. And I want to show you how this works. The way they got the conservatives and the Republicans to go along with Social Security is they said that Social Security will be put in a separate checking account instead of the government's general fund. And the conservatives and Republicans went along with the program. And what happened? Roosevelt and his associates in the ACLU crowd went to the Supreme Court, who said, guess what? Everything goes in a general fund, you lose. Another instance of this nonsense, and just bear with me for another minute, is 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was 99% more government, 1% civil rights. And by the way, civil rights are rights granted by the government, not inalienable rights granted by God. Declaration of Independence talks about inalienable rights, and men create governments to protect their rights under God Almighty. Okay, so you see the difference between civil and inalienable rights. Civil Rights Act was gotten through the House of Representatives and the Senate because the Southern Democrats, called Dixiecrats, and the conservatives in the Senate were told there would be no busing to achieve racial integration. After the bill was passed, what happened? The ACLU crowd went right to the Supreme Court, and they got that kicked out. All right, let's fast forward to 2009, Obama anti-care, which is going to kill us. If this goes through, it's going to kill us. But it can be fixed. What did the Republicans say? What did the conservative Democrats say? We're going to fight this bill based on public money for abortion. They never said we're going to fight this bill because it's a huge increase in the size and the cost, the extent, the reach, and the power of the government. They said we don't want this bill because we don't want any public money for abortion. So they put a safeguard in there. And the bill passed Congress by 5 votes, which is usually how these anti-liberty bills pass. 2 votes, 3 votes, 4 votes. Now have to pass by 1 vote. That's responsible for all of this nonsense, but I don't even want to talk about that. Essentially what's going to happen is this thing is going to go right through the Senate. They'll keep debating this public money for abortion, all right? And then in a year or 2 years, when the furor dies down over this anti-health care bill, which if I were in, I would have voted no, period. Because that's an increase in the size, the cost, the reach, and the power of the government. Once this thing goes through, the ACLU crowd will take it to the Supreme Court and will get the Supreme Court to take out the safeguard. So you had a safeguard in Social Security, 2 trust funds, gone. You had a safeguard in the 1964 Civil Rights Act, no busing, gone. And now they're going to misuse the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in this nonsensical health care bill to take away the abortion, to take away the ban on public money for abortion. This thing is a joke. And the joke's on us. U period, S period. What we need is a congressman in Washington, D.C., who's going to put the following language in these bills. And the following language is real simple. If this bill is adjudicated in black and white, it's truck driver language. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a liar, I should say. I'm not a lawyer. If this bill is adjudicated, which means it goes to court, the bill, any expansion of the bill, is null and void, and after the injustices make their decision, the entire bill goes back to Congress to be rewritten. That would stop this nonsense. And by the way, I don't see your conservative Republicans or your Sean Hannitys or your Rush Limbaughs discussing this technique. I hope I made some sense to you. This video was shot on a spur of a moment. And I thank you for your time, and I'm Lenny Ladner. Thanks a lot. And here's to liberty.